Hey everyone, I'm so excited about today's episode, but first want to let you know that this show is made possible by Fortune Builders. I also want to take a minute to invite you guys to an amazing opportunity to learn from some of the top experts in the real estate industry about how to get started in real estate or scale an existing business to the next level. Fortune Builders is hosting a one-day webinar to help you learn about real estate investing in today's market. So throughout the show, if you feel like you're ready to get started, go to FortuneBuildersShow.com to register. Again, that's FortuneBuildersShow.com to register. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you'll find a link right below the show so you can get there that way as well. And please remember that the content of this show and every show is for educational purposes only. Myself or our guests are not going to be providing any legal, financial, or professional advice. If we share specific results, they are attributed to an individual or a business, and we can't guarantee the results will happen for you, those earnings or the income will match those figures. The bottom line is there's always risk when investing in real estate. You can make a lot of money or you can lose a lot of money, and it's hard work. But that doesn't mean we can't have fun doing it. So let's get into today's episode.
From a team that has $1 billion in real estate investment experience. A show to help you learn the strategies and systems it takes to get started investing in real estate. This is the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show.
Hello everyone, this is JD Asajan and welcome to the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show. In case you forget the title, it's right here on the screen. For those of you that aren't watching, well, shame on you, but it is the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show. And you got your old pal JD, Uncle JD, as my nephews and nieces call me, Jada, as my friends from high school call me. You can call me, whatever you want. Your host for the next 45 minutes. We're actually on episode 33 of the podcast, 33 of many, many more. And I'm excited to get into an important topic today, which is success. Specifically, I'm going to focus on success in real estate. But before we get into that, the word of the week. Oh, so good. So good. The word of the week this week is success. Now, I'm pretty sure that everyone watching and listening understands the definition of that word in the Webster dictionary sense, but it means different things to different people. We were talking before we went live here on the show, and a quote was shared by Dale Carnegie. Success is getting what you want, and happiness is wanting what you get. It's a pretty good quote. Success is different things. It's happiness. It is getting what you want, not necessarily when you want it. And you're going to hear more about that as we get into the show, because success takes time. Understanding what you want, setting benchmarks so you know when you get there, balance, health, right? There's a lot of things that go into the definition of success. And I'm going to help define some things in our career now, coming up on, getting into our 20th year here very soon. We're in our 19th year now, that have made us successful in real estate and some lessons we've learned. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to summarize some things today and bring some elements of different shows that we've covered in the past. And I'm going to talk about them as they relate to success in real estate from our experience. Now I would suggest you implement some of the things we talk about because I know they work from personal experience. And I'm going to give you some easy action items at the end of this, at the end of the podcast today to execute right away. I broke down some things as I look back over 19 years now of working with my friends and my brother and my business partners in the companies that we currently have. And then I've been in real estate longer, over 20 years. I bought my first house in 1999. Certainly not a professional real estate investor, but looking back over that time, things that we've learned that have made us successful and helped us get whatever that definition is for you and helped us get to our goals in real estate. And I broke them down into a couple of steps. Number one, And I can't say that this is the most important, but nothing else really good happens for long periods of time or get to where you want to go if this isn't something that you implement into your life, and that's consistency. It's easy to be consistent when things are easy and things are going well. It's much more difficult to be consistent when the opposite's happening. So we're going to talk about some easy things that you can do. Well, I shouldn't say easy. Some things that you can do that you can get up and running fast that we've implemented over 18, 19 years now that have made us successful. So consistency is key to success in real estate. Now, you could obviously translate that to success in a lot of different things. Number two is be clear on what you want and set goals. And I'm going to give you some things that you can look at setting goals around as they pertain to real estate. Number three is you got to have accountability. It's tough out there. It's tough out there all the time. Sometimes you feel like you have the wind at your back. Maybe you feel like you're riding a unicorn down the back end of a rainbow, pulling a pot of gold, and everything's going well. But as my grandfather used to say, if and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Just think about that for a second. Grandpa Dick immigrated from Armenia, came through Ellis Island in the early 1900s. If and buts were candy and nuts, you'd all have a Merry Christmas. When things are going well, they're going well. When they're not going well, they're not going well. And accountability can help with that. And I'll talk about that as well. Number four pertains to number three. And that's your sphere of influence, who you surround yourself with. In real estate, are you putting yourself in the right rooms? Are you learning from the right people? If you're listening to this, you're listening to this show now, so you're learning from the right people. But are you spending time, in networking events or in masterminds with the right group of people? Number five is execution. If you're not executing, implementing, surrounding yourself with tools, people, executing in your life, then you're just not going to get to where you want to go. And then it's repeat. It's doing that over and over and over again. So let's jump back up to number one and talk about consistency. Like I said, when everything's going well and things are clicking, that consistency and that rhythm becomes easy. But then February rolls around and you had your goals of getting to a certain weight or reducing your body fat or exercising a certain amount. And it's a little colder and you're like, man, it's not January anymore. And then that consistency of going to the gym, it gets harder, and that's life. And so the people that get to where they want to go in real estate, that's primarily what this podcast is about, right? Real estate investing. They're consistent in what they do. Let me give you some examples of some things that you can do, and I'm going to break them down very specifically. Ever since we started in the end of 2003, our first full year in business was 2004, we've had a meeting rhythm. It's been on Mondays every single Monday since we started. Now, the way we meet has changed, and I'm going to break it down for you very specifically. If you're at a place you can take notes, you should take notes here, and you should implement this. If you're driving and you can't take notes, then you're going to want to come back to this and review it and implement this. So every single Monday since we started our companies, and this has been one of the big reasons that we've continued to grow, get better, learn, have success, get to where we ultimately wanted to go, is we had a meeting rhythm. Now, many times, and when we started out, there were 6 of us sitting around the coffee table in the condo that we lived in New Haven, Connecticut. Now, it's very different. It's a Zoom or a GoToWebinar because we have people in different locations. But that consistency is something it's discipline, it's accountability, it's your sphere of influence, it's execution, it's all the things I mentioned after that first topic. So let's break down what I do every single week with the CT Homes LLC team, which is our residential redevelopment company, the first company we founded, do 100 transactions every single year. I don't want to say like clockwork because it takes work, but how we meet as a team. So every Monday, we do a company-wide, all of our companies, managers get together at 8:15. Now, you can pick your different times, but Monday morning works really well for a variety of reasons. Start of the week sets the tone, you get the idea. So at 8:15, we meet managers on a Zoom. We happen to use Zoom before, GoToWebinar before Zoom became much more popular a number of years ago. So we've continued to do that, GoToWebinar, and all the managers of the different departments of the different companies get together on that. And not everyone shares, but key managers that share around topics that everyone else needs to know about. Marketing. I share on the residential real estate side. Paul, my brother, shares. He shares updates maybe from HR, or he also ends the call with shares of the community, the mastery community, or our coaching community. We talk about upcoming events, right? The things that everyone on that call needs to know about. Now, after that happens, and I'll break down my specific meeting rhythm with the real estate team at CT Homes, we break up into our department meetings. And so what we do at CT Homes, we have a team of managers and then people that work under the managers, is I send out by 9 a.m., before 9 a.m. every Monday morning, and I've done this a long time. I don't even have how long I've been doing this because it's been that long. I send out a weekly words email, which is a thought of the week, a quote, maybe a chapter of the book we're reading, something that we want to highlight. I share a win of the team from the previous week, and it sets the tone for the meetings that are about to come. And then prior to 9 a.m., I send that email. Then at 9 a.m., we start our meeting rhythm. Now, we do a huddle 5 days a week, except for Monday, because Monday we do a longer team meeting. And I'll talk about huddles in a second. So our meeting rhythm gets broken down at CT Homes LLC into huddles daily, except for Monday. Monday we have a longer weekly team meeting. I'll talk about what we go over in each of those meetings. And then we track this. We use documents, Google Docs. We keep track of these things that we go over in the meeting. So there's accountability, right? You have your sphere of influence. It helps with that execution. It's setting goals, right? It's consistency. All right. So in our team meeting on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we don't meet on Saturday and Sunday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we huddle every morning. But let's start with the weekly team meeting on Monday. And what we go over first off when we start our meetings at CT Homes Monday morning, 9 a.m., everyone shares the win. And we've done this every Monday now since we started. And the team members change as people come and go, but everyone shares a win. And sometimes it's a win from the weekend. I had a great weekend, hung out with my aunt or whatever it is, saw a cool movie. We sold Grimm last week. We bought Rueda last week. Those kinds of things people share to set the tone for the meeting. Then I share a couple of key messages, maybe some news or announcements from our previous 8:15 company-wide manager meeting, maybe an event that's coming up that people need to know about, Ignite at the end of the year. We got Founders Club coming up, which is our mastermind that's actually next weekend. High-level mastermind, Tham, Paul, Conrad, myself facilitating with about 60 business owners within our community across the country. Those kinds of things. And then from there, we look at market stats. This is about 9:15. We start at 9 a.m. About 9:15, we're looking at market stats here in San Diego County. We're looking at pendings. We're looking at new actives. We're looking at median price point. We're looking at the things that drive the business that we do. And then we break down properties. We start with acquisitions, and we look at what do we have on the board that's either needs to be approved to buy, is already approved to buy, when we're buying it, those kinds of things. Then we get into the rehab, and we look at all the properties, and we discuss, any changes to the scope of work, any changes to the budget. We go over timing of when those properties are going to be completed, and then we get into sales. And that's where we look at what's coming up that's going to be active soon, what is active, any offers that we got, what's pending a sale, when it's selling, those kinds of things. And then when that wraps up, we celebrate that win. We crush it on 3. This is what we do. And we're out of that meeting prior to probably 10 a.m. Takes us about 45 minutes to maybe 55 minutes. And then what happens after that is the managers, myself, Dan, who was on the case study last week with me, who manages acquisitions, Michelle, who manages the renovation department, Mary, who manages the transaction team. We stay back in that meeting. Some people are there live, some people are Zooming, depending on what they have going on in their schedules that morning. Again, this is Monday morning. About 10 a.m., the managers do a follow-up meeting where we go over our goals for that week. Each manager shares the big three that they need to work on. These are things that are related to our business and what other people need to hear about. If one of my big threes is date night with my wife this week, the reality is no one in that meeting needs to hear that because it doesn't affect them. So those aren't the things we're sharing. A big three is I got to get the Felton property permits packaged back up and we got to get them resubmitted to the city. Like those kinds of things that I want to be held accountable for. We do that. We break that meeting. Those two meetings there on Monday morning were done by approximately 10:30, usually never later than 11 a.m. Okay. That's our weekly team meeting that we do every single week at CT Homes. Now, some weeks I go into that meeting and I'm dragging my behind a little bit because I feel like it's repetitive. And that's going to happen, but that's part of being consistent. And the result of that meeting done well is better communication, more things get done, better team alignment. You're able to more swiftly move through deals. There's a lot of benefits to that. It's consistency. It's not always easy, but it's productive. Now, from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what we do is we huddle up, quote unquote. The reason I call it huddle is it's going to take me longer to describe the meeting, the huddle, than it is for us to implement it. And we do this every single week, 4 days a week, not 5 days a week, because obviously I just described what we do on Monday. And this is something we learned from a book by Vern Harnish, who's a pretty cool author. The book's called Scaling Up. It's got a lot of really cool information about meetings in there. I'm going to highlight the huddle idea. It's short, it's high impact, it's a touch point for people to get on the same page. The reason I'm sharing this level of detail around meetings on this podcast is because it directly relates to consistency and it directly will relate to your success in this business. And I'm going to give you an action item too that I know will help you if you're not already doing something like this. Huddle, 8 o'clock. We do this. We track this information again on a document. And here's what we go over. First thing, this particular huddle that I'm describing is just for our management team. And everyone goes over a win. The rhythm is similar, but it's faster. Everyone shares a win. Everyone reports in that meeting the managers on a KPI that they're responsible for. Dan discusses how many offers, any acceptances, like the metrics that he's accountable for. I talk about revenue and profitability. Mary will talk about transactions, of course, and then Michelle will certainly share numbers around the renovation team. Okay, KPIs, that's what those are, key performance indicators. Then everyone shares their theme / action items for that day. Again, they don't need to hear that I've got dinner with my wife on a date night at the end of the day because that doesn't directly affect them. So it's related to the things that they need to know about that we're doing at CT Homes. Then after our theme and action items, then we share any slowdown or stucks. We'd be done with the meeting by now, actually. That's how quick it is. We stay standing up. If people are logging in and they're not there personally, then they're standing up wherever they're at. Slowdown or stucks, things that other people can help you get past, or that other people are creating a slowdown or stuck for you. And then lastly, we share a core value, something or someone that exemplified our core value. We crush it on 3, we're out of there, right? It's less than 5 minutes. When we first decided to do a daily huddle, again, consistency, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, every day? Like that seems like a waste of time. But it's not. The reason is, if you do it right and you're consistent with it, it actually creates an opportunity where you know you're going to talk to someone on your team, under your employment, under your management, where you don't need to, if it's not urgent throughout the course of the day, you don't need to waste time texting them, calling them, or as we sometimes would do, yelling across the office because we're all upstairs in the office. So it actually improved and streamlined communication. Now, the meeting itself isn't necessarily what's effective to your success in real estate. It's the consistency of you doing it, which you could provide that same definition to almost anything that you do. Like doing that one thing may get you a result. It actually may not get you a result, but the success of where you want to get to is done by consistency. And so that's amongst many other reasons why we do it every single day. It's short, it's high impact, and improves communication. Now, there's a lot of other things you can be consistent with in your business of real estate. I would suggest starting out, it's a form of communication / organizing your thoughts for the week and the day. So here's an action item for you on this consistency, and then we're going to move to KPIs, goals, talk about some of the other things that I mentioned at the start of the show. I should say, because we're covering a lot of information here, we're gonna get through the rest of the topics I wanted to talk about. If you're sitting there saying, man, I like what JD's throwing down, I want to learn more about the way that you guys do real estate, we have a lot of resources that can help you. The easiest thing for you to do is go to FortuneBuildersShow.com and learn more about the education, the one-day class that we do. Get plugged into what we're doing there, and that will open doors to other things in your business. If nothing else, you're just going to get good quality education. FortuneBuildersShow.com. So the consistency of the meetings are what's important. So here's an action item for you. For those of you that are working by yourself, meaning you don't have business partners, you're a solo, real estate investor, or you're going to be a solo real estate investor, or there's some of you that have a team that are managing other people, that have people that report to you, etc. Wherever you're at on that spectrum, you can start huddling up right away every single day. Now, some of you are saying, well, if I work by myself, are you saying I should huddle with myself every morning? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Huddle with yourself. Now, that sounds really weird if you just tuned in and heard me say huddle with yourself. If you're listening to the show or watching the show, you understand what it means. Meeting with yourself every morning, writing down your goals, going over your to-dos, understanding what important KPIs you need to get to, or improve that day. If you do that every day for 5 minutes, you're going to be better off. I can't say you're going to get exactly to your definition of success in real estate, but I can tell you that it's going to put you in the right trajectory. Well, that's a big word to say, trajectory. Trajectory. Say that 5 times fast. It's going to put you in the right trajectory. I just said it 4 times. Towards your success. And I know that from personal experiences. And at the events that we've taught over the last decade plus, I've shared a version of what I just shared with you now. And I've had people come back to me and say that really made a difference. So huddle up with yourself, huddle up with your team. Whether you do exactly what I just described is not as important as getting it up and running and also tracking it. It's one thing to do something. It's another thing to track it and look at it to see if you got to where you said you were going to get to and hold yourself and your team accountable. So I would get that meeting, some version of that meeting rhythm up and running. It's not always easy, but this whole conversation around meetings was under the topic of consistency. Usually the things that make us successful that we're consistent with are not always easy. In fact, they never are always easy. But the people that get to where they want to go, whether it's in the short term, intermediate term, long term, they do things every day, whether they want to or not sometimes, to get them, closer to where they know that they want to be. Which gets us to our next point is where do you want to be? And the number 2 thing I want to talk about here today is setting goals. If you don't have a target, it's very hard, if not impossible, to know when you hit it. So that's really what goal setting is. That's not an aha moment for anyone watching or listening, but I'm going to share a couple of things that hopefully will refine that idea, right? We just got past the new year, and usually that's a time of year where people set goals. And, usually about this time of year is when you start to realize if you're on track or not, but are you going to do something about it if you're not? So setting goals is one thing, but looking at them frequently, putting them in front of other people that can help you accomplish them is a whole nother thing. So if you're setting goals now, that's fantastic. If you're not, you should. And if you're not writing them down, you should absolutely be writing them down as well as sharing them with other people. That is one of the things that makes goal setting productive and effective. So some things that we've done over the years in terms of goal setting that have helped us be successful in real estate are setting clear, defined key performance indicators that we want to work towards. Now, we do that weekly, we do it monthly, we do it quarterly, we do it yearly, we project out 5 years, and maybe sometimes that 5-year or that end of the year KPI, key performance indicator, is like way out there. Not sure how we're going to get there, but then we back into that by setting quarterly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and then, yes. Oh, I was going to give you the boom, but my settings, I don't know what happened. No, I don't want to sign in. Well, unfortunately, I'll have to just make the sound. I probably totally messed up the audio. And I don't remember what I was talking about, but we break them down to daily action items. If you have someplace you want to get to by the end of the year that defines success for you, and you wrote down that goal or just know the goal, whether you wrote it down or not, if you're not doing something every day, chances are it's going to be much harder, if not, I shouldn't say impossible, but definitely harder to get to where you want to go. So your goal setting in real estate is important. KPIs are a big part of that. So for example, some KPIs you can set, since we're talking about real estate, of course, here on this podcast, is on the buy side, the acquisition side. How many offers are you going to write this week? Like, how many offers do you need to write to buy a property? Well, that's a metric that you determine over time. But if you're not writing offers every day or every week, you're not going to buy homes. If you're not buying homes, you're not getting to your real estate goals. So set a goal of writing an amount of offers every week. Maybe right now you don't know how many offers it takes for you to buy one home. But if you're tracking it, and you writing offers every day and every week and every month, and then you're buying homes, you can start to determine that metric. Oh, on average, it takes me 20 offers to buy one home, 5 offers, 10, whatever that number is. So a great KPI on the acquisition side for real estate is offers. Write offers, every day, certainly every week. And if you have a goal weekly, you want to break it down into some daily activity. On the renovation side of the business, if you're renovating homes, a good KPI to look at over time and set is how much money are you spending on a project per a given time period. I think it's most productive to look at it weekly, and there's a lot of other KPIs you can look at on the rehab side. Obviously, your timeline, your budget, of course, your price per square foot you're spending on construction for different types of properties. But the velocity of the money that you spend on the rehab side per given week helps to tell you the effectiveness of your construction team, the contractors that you're hiring, your ability to manage them, your scope of work, permitting in your area. It really backs you into a lot of important metrics. So that's a good one to look at. On the sales side, KPIs to set, of course, are how you're doing in relationship to what you thought the home would sell for versus what you sold it for. How many days on market? Are you comparing those to market stats in your local market? Those kinds of KPIs are good to look at. Now, again, I'm talking about real estate goals here because that's really the overall flavor of the podcast that we discuss different things that are related to real estate, but you do the same thing with your personal goals. You want to, look or feel a certain way by the end of 2022, right? If you're not doing something every day or very often to get to that goal, then it's going to be harder. So you can apply that same thing. For us at CT Homes or FortuneBuilders or Equity Street Capital or Mind Protein or any of the other companies that we operate, we set very clear, defined key performance indicators for those teams and those companies, and then we look at them very frequently. We're consistent with that. All right. So goal setting, no secret as to why that's important. But again, the devil is in the details, and actually doing it, writing them down, looking at them frequently is what gets you to where you want to go. And that's where the consistency comes in. Next, we talk about accountability. As a solo person, or whether you're working by yourself or with a group of people, you will accomplish more by having accountability, whether it's from a coworker, whether it's from a spouse or a significant other, whether it's from a coach or a mentor. Having someone help hold you accountable is one of the most important things that an individual can do to help them accomplish their goals, because it helps with consistency. It can help you set the goals. It can help with, its sphere of influence, which I'm going to talk about next. We have a lot of resources within our education community to help with accountability, but you got to plug in, right? Going to FortuneBuildersShow.com is a starting point, and then there's other doors that can open from there. So that accountability is key, because that morning you wake up and you told yourself you were going to, get to the gym or get on the treadmill or go for a walk, and it's cold outside or the bed's warmer than where you're headed. If you don't have accountability and someone that you're reporting to that day as to doing something or not doing something, it's probably more likely you're going to hit snooze a couple of times and turn over and get another 30, 40 minutes of sleep and miss that workout. That's not everyone. I understand that there's many people who have a high level of discipline and they are accountable to themselves. But even that person, there are times that accountability is needed. And so wherever you're at on that spectrum, big thing. So get a coach, seek out people that you can report to or update, whether it's someone in your immediate family, a good friend, or you look to us, FortuneBuildersShow.com, to get education and plug into some of the other things that we're doing there. Next is who you surround yourself with. Number 4, sphere of influence. Speaking of my grandfather, Grandpa Dick, who again immigrated from Armenia and went through Ellis Island, he used to say, if you hang around with dogs, you get fleas. He's right. But the opposite of that's true as well. When you hang around with dogs, you can get fleas, and probably will. If you're hanging around with a certain kind of person that's where you want to be or has done what you want to do, you have a higher likelihood of getting to that end result, getting to that target, getting to that goal. You can read different things, hear different things, watch. You probably heard something like this, that you're an aggregate, whether it's financially or otherwise, of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I don't know if that's exactly true, but there's definitely truth to that statement. And so who you spend time with, your sphere of influence, will directly affect your goals, will directly affect your accountability, will directly affect your consistency. And when you make a change to hang around with different people that are pointing you in the direction you want to go, or doing what you've done, or have done what you want to do, you're increasing your likelihood of getting there. And that's, at its very simplistic level, one of the reasons we started teaching. We like it. We're good at what we're doing. We want to help other people get to where they want to go. And so because of that passion, we've developed a pretty strong community and sphere of influence. But that's never changed. One of the things that we've always done is, when we get to a certain level that we wanted to get to, we push ourselves even further. When I say we, it's like us as owners, the employees on our team. It's like you surrounding yourself with a certain group of people, and you've accomplished things that you want to accomplish. If you're not being pushed anymore, then I suggest you find rooms and find groups and find masterminds that help push you to where you're outside of your comfort zone. So that's that sphere of influence. Is that comfort zone feels comfortable, but good things happen outside of that comfort zone, and sphere of influence will help you with that. Lastly, as I mentioned in kind of our overview, is your execution. Now, being able to execute something, it has to do with everything that we've already talked about. It's being clear on the target and where you're headed. It's understanding your KPIs, your goals. It's having people that hold you accountable, that help direct you towards that target, and it's being consistent. As an example, I'll give you a quick rundown of how, and I actually have a coaching call tomorrow with my coach. So what I do on the coaching side personally, and I've been doing this now for over a decade, is every Monday, and this helps with execution, is every Monday I have a check-in with my coach that I send via email. And it summarizes my action items from the previous week and how well I did percentage-wise. Obviously 0 to 100. Want to see hundreds there. That isn't always the case. I got 4 or 5 key things that I committed to doing last week that I report on. I set my intentions for that current week, and I do this every Monday morning as well. Talk about consistency. And my new intentions for this coming week. And then some other things that I do, I share wins, and you're hearing some similar things with what I've already talked about. And so then every week I'm sending that email every Monday morning. Once a month we get on a call. We go over the previous 4 weeks and goals and accomplishments, things that didn't get done, why, understanding that. And that helps with all the things that I've already talked about. And that helps with execution. Execution is a lot of different things. It's a culmination of some key pieces of the puzzle, if you will. Knowing where you want to get to, being clear on your goals, having the right people around you, doing something every day towards that goal, right? And then having someone check in and slap you on the wrist or on the forehead if you didn't get to where you wanted to go. It's it's not always easy out there, and we feel success in real estate is having someone to continue to help guide you. So some of the things I talked about, I'm sure those of you listening and watching, do already. And I'm also sure that some of you can fine tune them as well. Let's not forget our word of the week, right? Success. Because you're sitting there listening to these podcasts and learning from us or watching them, and your success is defined differently. You have a certain financial goal. You have a certain, whether it's income goal, business goal, deal volume goal, lifestyle, ability to give back, whatever that definition of success is. I can't sit here and say there's only one for the word of the week, but there are some common themes. We want to be happier. We want to like what we're doing. We want to be grateful, give back, hopefully make a positive change, help other people, these kinds of things. And then within that, there's financial goals, etc. That success word of the week is defined by you, but it'll be executed and accomplished by the things that I helped, that I shared with you on this podcast. And while they may seem simple, consistency, right? Goal setting, KPIs, accountability, sphere of influence, execution, getting to where you want to go doesn't need to be this complicated riddle or puzzle. It can be broken down into some key things that I talked about. Now, I can tell you that if you're looking for something to take away from this show that we're going to wrap up here in a little bit right away, I'd very easily tell you to write your goals down if you're not doing that. If you're listening, watching, and you have goals in your head, get them out of your head and put them on paper and put them in a place where you're going to look at them a lot. Put them on a sticky note and put it on the mirror in your bathroom. Create a Google Doc where you write them down and share them with your sphere of influence or your coach, or get a coach to share them with, right? Write your goals down. And then action item number 2, if you're listening to the show or watching, you have an interest in real estate or you already are in real estate, you should be implementing and executing some form of a meeting rhythm for yourself and whoever your team is. Maybe it's 2 contractors that are working on your projects. Maybe it's a couple of real estate agents that are helping you write offers. Maybe you have team members, employees, W-2, people that rely on you. You should be having some sort of a productive meeting rhythm. And I defined what we do now, and I also shared that we've done something every single Monday, meeting-wise, and that consistency is so important. So 2 easy action items from this show is get your goals write them down. If you haven't already, keep them in front of you. Number 2 is to get a meeting rhythm, a productive meeting rhythm, up and running right away. And I shared that huddle is a great place to start. There are other things that I talked about you can implement as well in setting your KPIs, but I will tell you that those 2 things are very easy to do, and they're very effective. And I can look back over now, our 19th year in business and say those are some of the key things that have helped us get to where we want to go and define success for us. And it'll define success for you as well. Hey, hope you love this show. We were concise today. We were efficient, but nevertheless important things that you can implement right away. Write your goals down, number one. Number two, get your meeting rhythm up and running. We shared a quote at the beginning of the show, and I'll share it again because it's good. Dale Carnegie, success is getting what you want, and happiness is wanting what you get. I'll leave you with one more quote before we sign off on this episode. And this is a Zig Ziglar quote. I'm paraphrasing it. When you help enough other people get what they want, you get what you want. Within what you're doing, if you're focusing on helping other people and you do that consistently, something we've already talked about, you will and can get what you want. That's a Zig Ziglar, the late great Zig Ziglar quote. So get out there, write your goals down, start your meeting rhythm, or adjust your meeting rhythm if you currently have one and it's not as productive. And that's going to help point you towards your success in real estate, however you define that. All right. Hope you enjoyed the show. Excited for next week. We're going to get into another case study in a few weeks and bring that into a regular rhythm, as I mentioned on last week. So happy you're here. Appreciate everyone watching and listening, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.